Morning, everybody. Welcome, welcome. My name is Sean Murphy. I will be your conversationalist for the next little bit. Today is episode 2000. I don't know, probably a couple of hundred and something. We'll figure that out tomorrow. We've been talking about a little bit of a series here in sales. And in this series of sales, we've been talking about the velocity of words. How fast not how fast we speak our words, how fast do our words move somebody into action, right? That's the key. How fast do our words move somebody into action so that they move in a direction that serves us, right? Everything that we're all doing is what Zig Ziglar would call sales. And sales is a transference of enthusiasm. And our enthusiasm, our excitement is what they're buying. They may hear some conversation about a particular product or service or a benefit they get from working with us. Here's the challenge. The challenge is the silent echoes of our messaging, right? So we went from velocity, we went to the presence, how your presence is, how you show up, how your physical body shows up before you even start having a conversation. Because if you are a trained professional speaker or you've done any research on public speaking, you'll know that science says, research says, 7% are the words we use. So you can get the perfect script, and the perfect script will give you the perfect words. And the perfect words will give you the perfect presentation. That is only 7% of the presentation. So it's about timbre, it's about how your body is and the way you look at the camera or don't look at the camera or off, whatever it is. So the words are 7%. So we talked about velocity, we talked about presence. Then yesterday, I think it was yesterday, we talked about gravity. The gravity of your words, right? Do you say words that land and kind of leave a mark? Or are you just running through dialogue? Are you just running through conversation? Are you just trying to go from, I started at the beginning and I got to the end? They should say yes. My guess is that you'll find that when you just run through a script, there's no gravity in your words. There's no place for the prospect to become a customer because they're being spoken to. The weight of the words are informative. They're not transferable. They're not transformative. When you use your words, do they transform the other human being you're talking to or the other human beings you're talking to? Or is it just noise that they hear? And the brain does something called nexting. If you're not familiar with that, it's a term in psychology. As a neuroencoding specialist, as a brain-trained specialist, as a self-talk trained specialist, the brain does something called nexting. And nexting is your ability to run forward into the conversation with a variety of paths: avocado, cheeseburger, green beans, and chicken. Now, if you weren't literally paying attention, your brain just went, what the hell was that? You understood the words. What you didn't understand is the context. They didn't go with the flow of the potentials of where I could go. So your brain was nexting. And if you went, what? It wasn't part of the program, part of the potential outlets. The brain can next up to about 7 different varieties of a conversation. So in this idea, in understanding that whoever you're about to talk to, how many of you have ever talked to somebody who finishes your sentences? And that may or may not drive you up a wall. So the point is, your prospect, whoever you're communicating with, your audience, they're nexting. They have a belief of where you're about to go, and they're going to look for it. So when we talk about the gravity of your words, we need to pull them back into the present moment so they're not off nexting into the future and they miss some very critical, some very transformative moments in your presentation. So we talked about, what was the first one? Velocity, velocity, presence, and gravity. Today, we're talking about the echo of your presence. And I don't know if we'll get into it today, but we also are going to talk about the silent contracts that we create. And these silent contracts were typically never written by us. They were contracts written by somebody else that we are fulfilling. Does that make sense? And this is how we get our addiction to approval. So, over the last couple of days, we talked about how clean words create momentum, right? And now, what's a way to break the velocity of a conversation? If you listen to people who are trained in public speaking, who are trained, I shouldn't say trained in public speaking, although they will learn that there. There's a lot of people who train you how to add diction and clarity. What they probably will also teach you on is to avoid the you know, like, you ever talk to somebody who uses the word like, okay, like we're gonna move. And so like I was reading my journal the other day and like it, that one, when I work with people, if they use the word like more than 2 or 3 times in a 5-minute conversation, they got to start paying me $1 for every time they say the word like. And kids today, I say kids today, I'm older than the average bear. Kids today use that word often, or some kind of filler. Some kind of filler. And we all know that if you're going to sell a filet mignon, a T-bone, a porterhouse steak, you don't want any filler in that meat of the subject. So we talked about velocity. Clean words allow somebody to not get distracted. Every time you put in an or an or a or now you can use those to add emphasis. Emphasis. So how your energy sets the stage before you even speak is your presence. What kind of mood are you in, right? And then how your words continue pulling long after you leave the room. That's the gravity. So those are the 3 things we talked about. Today, we're going a little bit deeper because none of that matters. None of that matters if your words are carried by the wrong belief signal. If you've ever worked on a sales floor, if you've ever worked in an environment where there's a couple of people selling the same thing, network marketing, something I have 25 years, 26 years this year, 25 years of experience. A lot of people selling and a lot of people can't sell anything. And as other people make millions of dollars in it, it's not the process, it's not the comp plan, it is literally the belief signal in what they're doing. Prospects don't just hear your words, they hear the beliefs that are underneath your words. This is a phrase that many of you have heard me say often. Who you are speaks much louder than the words you're saying. See, your beliefs come from a contract. Your values come from a contract you've signed yourself. You've signed in blood, which is why it's so hard for people to adjust their identity, to shift who they say they want to be from who they currently are. We even come up with crazy terms like comfort zone. I'm in my comfort zone. No, you're not. You're in a pain zone you've become comfortable with. So if your unspoken contract says, I don't want to bother them, I don't want to make them feel uncomfortable, I'm not sure this works, then even the strongest pitch will fall flat. To give you I guess, an example, a crossover reference, at what temperature in Fahrenheit does water boil? The answer to that question is 212 degrees. Water boils at 212. Will it ever boil at 210? It takes a lot of energy to get water to 210 degrees. It will not boil at 210. Now, you could go to elevation and because the atmosphere is less and it'll boil faster. I get it. We're doing this all just basic mathematical formula at sea level, all the normal parameters. What happens to water at 210 degrees? It vapors off. You got to keep adding water in. And when you got to add more energy and when you got to add more source in, water that's 210 degrees because it's boiling out of the pot. Anybody ever boil a pot empty? Not a good thing. So if the pot's shrinking, if you're losing your energy, if you're losing your volume of water, you got to add some in. Well, you're not adding the same temperature water. Therefore, it cools it down. You got to start over and you got to start over. You got to start over. All right? We all know this. And this is what happens when your echo of belief isn't 100%. You could have it at 99%. It will not work. You think you're at 100. It is not. Your results prove it. Period. End of story. This is what's known as the echo of belief. And today we're going to uncover the silent agreements you and I and everyone else listening to this has been carrying so you can start to break free from these silent agreements. Oh, by the way, you did not write the agreement. See, we talked about shame. We talked about the end of last year, December of last year. We talked about decision of self. These contracts that you currently have that are running right now in place were never yours to create. They were created for you. They were created for you by people who loved you, by people of influence, whether it be your culture, your community, your environment, your socioeconomic standing. These agreements were created for you by everything other than you. And you have signed them and agreed them. It's called your identity. It's called your personal reality. So, what is a silent contract? These are internal agreements that you've made about yourself, about money, about success, about rejection, about procrastination. In today's society, about social media, about scrolling. These are silent agreements you've made about sleep, about your wellness, about your romantic life. These are all silent agreements that you have made, so much so that if I were to ask one of your friends, hey, tell me about, and I fill in the blank with your name, people will describe you based upon your silent contracts. And those that really know you, those that have been under the hood and seen you operating at your finest or your worst, depending upon how you would describe it, know contracts others maybe don't know. Here's what these contracts sound like. I'm not good at sales. I don't want to seem pushy. I'll never make more than $10,000 a month. I'll never make more than $100,000 a month. I'll never make more than $5,000 a month. If I succeed, people won't like me. That one just drives people up the wall. They go, that's ridiculous. Sorry, it is not. If you've ever been told when you were growing up, that's not who we are. We don't have that kind of money. We're not those kind of people. If you ever heard anything of that nature, you were given a silent contract that you agreed upon to keep your parents happy, to keep your influential parental units, whether they were your parents or adoptive parents or aunts or uncles or cousins or somebody of influence, so that you didn't upset them, so that you didn't leave the fold. They aren't spoken out loud, yet they leak into every single conversation. And when you start to understand these silent contracts and how they're not so silent, they leak into every single conversation. When you hear a pattern of language, a pattern of words, a pattern of response, you can tell somebody's silent contracts instantly. The challenge is there's an agreement between you and the other person you're having a conversation with, an unspoken agreement, a silent contract that says, if you see where I'm flawed, you promise not to point it out, and I'll promise not to point out where I see your flaw. It's kind of crappy, isn't it? This is why I've developed the 3 questions. Do I have your permission to help? Which means, hey, you've got some silent contracts that are not serving you, not serving your family, not getting you closer to your goals, not getting you closer to your dreams, not allowing you to keep your promises. Do I have permission to help you with your silent contracts? I'm not going to change them. I'm not going to give you a new contract. I'm just going to ask you, is it okay if we look at your silent contracts and we adjust them accordingly based upon your wants, needs, wishes, and desires? That's what do I have your permission to help is. The second question is what? Do I have your permission to make you uncomfortable? Can I show you how absolutely cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs your silent contracts and how they are and how debilitating those silent contracts are to you? And then third question, can I take you out of that uncomfortable feeling? Is it okay if I can show you? Is it okay if I offer you the chance to write new contracts? Would you want to do that so that you could have more of what you want, less of what you don't? Does that make sense? Yes, it does. So how does a prospect feel? How do they feel about our contracts? This is us as presenters. Listen carefully. This is important. A lot of you, I did a call with Christina Zaharia this Saturday. I guess it was 2 Saturdays ago. Maybe it was last Saturday. It was last Saturday, the 19th. Good Lord. That seems like a month ago. Anyways, the way your contracts come across, the way your prospect feels your contracts, are the micro expressions that they perform. Let me give you an example. Micro hesitations in your tone, your ums, your ahs, these hesitations, that's how your prospect understands your contract. When you turn away, when you look away, when you are getting ready to say something important and your head goes down, when you try to rush through something because you want to get it out. Hey, listen, this is a pretty good product. Do you like it? You ready to get started? You ready to get... All of these little expressions, all of these things, these micro expressions on your part are determined, are picked up by the prospect unconsciously. Some of you know this. When you first meet somebody, the very first interaction, your body is looking, your brain is looking for 2 things. Will they kill me? Or how fast could I recognize the pattern? So your brain, science shows, research shows, on average, in the first 5 seconds, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you made 101, 110 decisions decisions about somebody. Friend or foe, like them, don't like them, tall, short, this, that, or the other. Their one eye kind of is wobbly. Their one ear is lower than the other. Their posture is bad. Something, 105, 101 decisions in the first 5 seconds. That's 20 decisions, 20 scanning points per second. And you think you are not good at remembering names. You're awesome at remembering names. Do you know your dog's name? Do you know your spouse's name? You're awesome at remembering names. It's a lot easier to remember somebody's name when you're not scanning them for threats. And you can't stop scanning for threats. So when you're going to go have a conversation with a prospect and you're going to be asking them for money, asking them to buy something you have, asking them to invest maybe a little more than they're comfortable with, that is a threat. Period. End of story. Close the books. You are a threat to their existence. Until, Jim Rohn's favorite word, until you become a value-added asset. Until you become a resource. You are somebody they need to rebuke. You are somebody they need to push back, somebody they need to refute. They need to argue with everything that you're saying. Why? Because they don't know you. They don't know you from Adam or Alice. So, nervous laughter. When you laugh, do you break up points? Do you force a laugh that comes out that's your nervous laughter? How about this one? These are little indicators how your prospect, your potential customer, is realizing and understanding your silent contract. How about over apologizing or over explaining? Does that make sense? Yes. Okay, let me go into more detail. You're going through that because you're comfortable with it. They got it. They got it. Why are you beating them up with the information? They don't care. They don't need it. How about lack of certainty? This one was a big one for me. Huge for me. Huge for me. I was atrocious at lack of certainty when asking for the conversion. I figured, well, if I did a good job explaining it, they should know. They should figure it out. They should be able to figure this out, that it's a good thing. Shouldn't they? I mean, it's black and white. It's common sense. No, they have a silent contract that says anything good is not for them. Anything good has got to be expensive. Anything good I can't afford. That's a silent contract they have. Prospects don't reject your offer. This one's going to hurt. You may want to put a pillow over your chest because this one's going to punch you right in the solar plexus. Prospects do not reject your offer. They reject the echo of the beliefs you have not upgraded. There is no rejection. When you understand there is no rejection, the amount of rejection you get disappears. You can never be rejected unless you go with a belief, an echo of rejection to start with. See, that was a silent contract. You are told, listen, you can go be in sales. You can do all of this stuff. You can join a network marketing company. You can join a coaching program. You can join a mentoring program. If you don't upgrade your belief, you're going to say, this doesn't work for me. I'm not doing the work. The only reason you're not doing the work is because you have an agreement. You have a contract that says, I never do the work. I never do the activities because they have to be perfect. We call it perfectionism. The highest form of procrastination is perfectionism. Oh, and if that happens to you, guess who it also happens to? Your prospect. So write this down, the mirror effect. My dad used to do some training when we would do sales trainings, and he would have us sit, if this was us face to face, it's typical conversation. This is you talking to a prospect. He would have us sit back to back. He would take the chairs that you would normally sit like this and have us turn our chairs around so that we would be talking without seeing somebody, as if we were on the phone, right? But even in the same room, you can feel things. You can feel the air. You can feel the other people in the room. You can feel the vibration of them moving on the floor, whatever it is. There's a variety of things. The sound bounces around in the room differently. You're hearing 3D audio versus a 2D audio that bounces into a 3D audio. There's a whole bunch of difference. But the point was, he took away 50% visual. He took away 50% of the presentation, of the easy part of the presentation. If you dress up and if you're got good posture and you're dressed well and you've got your clean shaven and whatever it is that you normally, you just look good. Figure out what percentage of looking good is part of it and then take that away. You still got your voice, your sound, all of this stuff. So this mirror effect is people mirror your certainty or lack thereof it. Kind of ouchy, right? People mirror your certainty. So if you're walking around and the glass is half empty, if you're walking around and you're Chicken Little and the sky is falling, everybody you're going to talk to, the sky is falling. Everybody you're going to talk to has a disbelief in what you're doing because you don't believe it. This is Wallace D. Wattles' Science of Getting Rich. It ain't about doing certain things. It's about doing them in a certain way. How many of you have your mom's favorite recipe? And if you grew up without a mom, my apologies. But for the sake of the conversation, there's a dish that you have asked for the recipe and you got the recipe. Now, maybe your Nana, that's what I called mine, or on my mom's side, it was Baba. Maybe Nana gave you the recipe. She wrote it down for you, but she never wrote it down. She wasn't following a recipe. She would just go a little of this, a little of that, a little of that, right? I don't know where an Italian grandmother came in, but you know what I'm talking about? And you try to duplicate it, and you can't. Even if you had the exact amounts, maybe it's the syntax, maybe it's the order with which they blended together or they did something. But there's something about it, I can never seem to get it the exact same. My mom made a New York style cheesecake that when she made it, it was 10 out of 10 the same way every time. I have not to this day been able to duplicate it. And she watched me. I don't know. It's about energy or I don't know. It's just, I'm curious to find the answer. So watch this. If people mirror your certainty, let me ask you this. If you're 50% committed, what percent are they committed? If they mirror it, they are 0% committed. If you're 80% committed, what percent are they committed? 0%. You don't get a pass. You do not get a pass. If you're 90% committed, what percent are they committed? Zippity doo dah, zippity a, nothing, zero, nada, zilch, goose egg. If you're 100% aligned, they'll borrow your belief until they have their own. How many of us have heard speakers, especially in the network marketing world, say, hey, listen, use my belief in you till you have your belief in you. The reality, you ain't never had enough belief in you to give it to anybody else. So what happens now? Listen carefully. Oh, we're at the half hour. So we'll leave it there. We'll leave it there, and we'll go on to part 2 and 3 of this. The rest of this, the echoes of belief. So understand, this is a silent agreement that is not silent at all in its actions, is not silent at all in its results, is not silent at all in the conversation that you have with people. So, with that being said, questions, comments, thoughts, takeaways. What'd you learn? What'd you like? Good morning, AJ.
Hey, good morning. How's it going?
Outstanding.
Outstanding. I was having a conversation with my friend Andrew yesterday,
Yes. He was on
and
here this morning for a little bit.
yeah, well, his shift starts at 1, I think. So he's trying to,
Squeeze it. I
put in
get it.
some work. Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
He's just trying to squeeze it in the schedule. Let me just put this on here. Let's see here. Okay, does this work? This
That's
works.
perfect.
This works. I just did some light therapy for my leg. Hey, listen, I had a thought last night about something, and I'm sure you're gonna love it. I'm not uncertain. Let's put it that way.
Good.
And let's see here. Okay, that's better. And let me just put you down there. Now, what I've been thinking was, since we talked about sales over the course of the last week, let's say,
Yep.
and we talked about, I know you HAT the word handle people.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna say we learn how to communicate with people better.
Right. Gingerly hold them in the palm of our hand and guide them accordingly.
Whatever helps you make it through the night, Bubba. I've been thinking about this one thing, which is chess,
Mm-hmm.
playing chess.
Mm-hmm.
And the way I see it is just playing this long-term game. This was one of the biggest things I've ever learned from you. And being the chess master.
Mm-hmm.
Now, one thing happened last night. I'm not gonna go in details because it was intimate. Um,
Aww.
and I'm a gentleman. But the point is
Mm-hmm.
that what got me thinking about the chess master, this guy being the chess master, was how to communicate with people so that you are always above the situation, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And this week's and last week's lectures helped me understand that a lot better and in a lot more detail. How to, because if I think about velocity of sales, velocity of my words, if I think about the gravity of the strength of my words, how do I say it? What do I say? And I know you're going to say it's only 7%. So how do
No,
I show
no,
up?
no. It's the words by themselves.
Yeah,
The document, the PDF is 7%. 93% is everything else. That's why you can say I love you, you can say F off, you can say go for it with your eyes. You never have to open your cake hole. So words are there's such an insignificant part. Yet if you have a presence and then your words, the 7%, are a freaking wrecking ball to your entire presence. You can be absolutely 100% confident. You could have all of the 93% imperfect, and then you swear. That frickety thing, done. The 7% will just take the legs out of the 93%. They work in concert. Too many people focus on the 7% and never the rest. And I used your script. It didn't work. Listen, I promise you, you give me the script you used in your crypto trading when you were doing your sales and whatever the office was, when you were doing overnight sales, whatever that was. You gave me the perfect script written in perfect English. What are the chances I'll close anybody? What are the chances I'll get halfway through it? I have the perfect, the proven script used by MJ, the god of transformation. Ain't gonna work a damn bit.
Well, specifically for you, it probably will work.
I have
Yeah,
a better than average chance, yes. But
I do
the
realize that.
first
Yeah.
one's gonna be fascinating.
I do realize that there were occasions where agents would come in the office. Their vocabulary would be, I'm gonna say questionable, for the
Yes.
lack of a better word. Not even gonna talk
Fascinating in
about.
every language.
Oh yeah, they were fascinating in English. They're me Tarzan, you Jane type of English. That was just great, and they would still close.
Well,
And
they would,
yeah,
because it was novelty. My Spanish is one step above an orangutan. And people love when I speak Spanish because I'm trying and they can help me. And so I lean into that help me. I'll usually say, ayúdame, por favor. Mi español no, help me, please. And people, oh, I'll help you. Especially, I'm a little bit taller than the average bear in Latin America. I'm not, I'm not as average as a sexy potato sandwich. I'm a little bit better than average looking now that I've even lost more. I'm a little piece of candy that most people can't have. And they're like, oh, we'll help you. What do you want? Oh, sí, mi amorcito, right? So I leverage that, my bad Spanish. I don't know if I ever really want to get good at Spanish. I'll lose that whole.
yeah, that's the edge, and especially because Latinos, just as some nations in Europe, not everybody, but some nations in Europe, they just their love for you skyrockets when you at least try to
Yep.
use the language. Just the same in Serbia. I mean, if you come on to a Serbian person and they see that you say dobro jutro, I mean, they're definitely going to know you're American. However, they're going to love you for trying.
Yep.
On the contrary to, for example, France, if you dare to speak French in France, they're gonna cut your legs off, man. They're gonna shoot you right below the belt
I wind up
immediately.
back in my home country. Well, you tried to speak French in France.
Yeah, that's one way to get
They'll hit you with a
it.
baguette and you'll be out for day.
Yeah, you American, you cannot.
That's right.
That's just crazy. What I wanted to say was, actually ask you. I know you're the master of. I mean, you are the grand champion of chess game. I guess this is more of a strategy question. So, how do you always, and I mean, I've seen it happen on Zoom, I've seen it live, thank God, finally this year. How do you always be above the situation? And you see 5 moves ahead, you know what I'm trying to say? You
Mhm.
see how they will react, you kind of visualize the conversation up front, you visualize their reaction up front, and you're always kind of seeing the whole playing field, if you know what I'm trying to say. How do you do that?
Many people would say I play by a different set of rules. I don't play by the rules of one move equals gets one move. I make sure the rules of the game are not that I beat you. Any game that you're playing against somebody, whether it's a person of one on one or one on 1,000 in an audience, the rules I play by is that you win the game. Doesn't mean you can beat me. You can't beat me because I'm unbeatable. That's just a rule I have. Not that I have to win, but you are not going to make me lose. And too many people go into an agreement, too many people go into a contract, too many people go into a conversation with the belief that it's okay they lose. It is impossible for me to lose.
Bonus.
So I play by a different set of rules. And when you understand the rules of the game, it's a much funner game. You get better at the game. My rule, my game is that you win. period. So how do I always, I have to see, oh my gosh, that was a really crappy move. Why would you move your pawn like that? What do I have to adjust on my next move so you can take a piece? Because what'll happen is that you will see the move. How many times, if you've ever played chess, if you've ever played a strategy game where you move something, you went, oh my God, I didn't see it. It was right there. Tic-tac-toe. Oh, I must have lost the tic-tac-toe going, oh my God, tic-tac-toe. I can't believe and they go, and you're like, oh my God, I didn't see it. It's a phenomenon known as intentional blindness. It is a psychological kick in the cheeks phenomenon that exists in all of us called intentional blindness. So my goal isn't to point out where you struggled, where you failed. It's to point out going, okay, that move probably wasn't the best move. And now if I make you aware of it, my goal is that you don't repeat bad moves. That's the rule I have. You win, don't keep doing the same rules. Now, if you want to, this is where, do I have your permission to make you feel uncomfortable? I'm going to touch all of your silent contracts. I'm going to go poking around at all of your silent contracts. And I know when I've hit the big ones, because your body does something. Ooh, touched a nerve, touched a nerve. Now I need to back off. I need to give presence. I need to give space. I need to insert laughter, not nervous laughter on my part, actual laughter, something that is lighthearted, that even says, ooh, that touched a nerve, didn't it? And smile, not that touched a nerve, didn't it? I got you, you loser. I'm going to beat the crap out of you today. That's why you have to promise to use this for good. And the easiest thing, the way you see 5 moves ahead, is you ask the simple question that sounds like, what? Tell me more about that. Because where they're going, we could have a conversation, AJ. You and I could have a conversation today that you would be, which you probably have been in the past, but you'd be exhausted after 20 minutes of a conversation. You know that feeling. Because I cut through all of the, I don't need your feedback. I don't need you to see where we're going. I don't need you to be a part of the conversation. You said, I want to get here, and I drag you up the mountain to get you to here. Then I got to hold you there. I got to make sure you're locked off, you're tied off, you're shackled in, you got your carabiners locked in, the rope is tight. There's no slack for you to fall back. And that's when you would turn and you take a little puff on your vape, and you're like, oh, oof, okay. So I put the pressure on, turn the pressure up, and put the fire up, and then let you walk away to sit into that pressure. And then you go, oh, this is exactly where I wanted to be. The view is awesome. It's freaking amazing. I feel good here. Okay, so I shed some stuff. We have that permission. The average bear you're talking to hasn't given you that permission, even if they say they have, because people lie. So the way you see 4 or 5 moves ahead is you ask simple questions. What you'll find is there's a pattern, and everybody plays chess in their own way. Tell me more about that. That's fascinating. Tell me more about that. How's that working for you? And they'll reveal their pattern, because it is a default mode network. It's how they operate when they're not thinking. You can only move somebody because you only become aware of somebody when they're not thinking. Because there's people who try to show up, and you're like, they're not even truthful with this. This I don't know who they think they're convincing, but they are so far from it's hysterical. So that's how you stay 5 or 6 moves ahead. My goal is to help you win. And when you stumble, when you make a silly move, when you reveal something, isn't that fascinating? Wow. How's that working for you? And that's where the words from Gravity yesterday, listen, they're never going to care. No, not one child, not one friend is ever going to say, my God, they were always exhausted. They're just going to say, you never showed up. You weren't there. They don't care how hard you work to become average. That's a gravity statement, isn't it? That hits a little. Nobody's going to care how hard you work if your results are always average. They want above average, which means you've got to become excellent to get above average results. And that takes enthusiasm, that takes self-introspection. So my goal is to constantly hold up the mirror, right? We talked about this before. Here's the mirror, but I also got to hold up the window for you to see your potential future. So how do I always know what they're going? They've showed me the window and I never put the window down. I don't keep holding up the mirror going, your life sucks. Why are you doing this? You can't do anything. I don't even know why you're trying. Why did you get out of bed this morning? Or I could say that, why'd you get out of bed this morning if you're not going to keep your promises? If you're not going to keep your promises, the window. So I need to figure out, is the window their true reality? If not, tell me more about the window so I can chip away all this other stuff, because their window is their window. My window is a different place. Can I look out the window with them as opposed to saying, you can't even look out your window? So that's how I play the game. The game is the window. You have to win. And I can chip away. That's the personal undevelopment. I got to chip away what's not working, which is why I'll ask questions. How's that working for you? And a lot of people, we've heard the expression, they're playing checkers and he's playing chess. Different rules. So if they're playing checkers when they show up, I ask them, you want to get good at checkers or you want to advance to chess? Listen, you've got a certain set of results in your life right now. If you could become the best at acquiring the results in that framework of checkers, if you became the world champion of checkers, is that enough for you? Are you happy enough with getting I am a world-class champion at checkers? Or is there more in your life you want?
This is funny. We have a saying in Serbia, and this is what Big Mitch, and by the way, Big Mitch says hello. So this is what Mitch tells me all the time. This is an old proverb in Serbia. It goes, it's better to be second in the city than first in the countryside. Meaning just this. It's better to be the second best world grand chess master versus the guy that wins the checkers at the fair.
Exactly.
That's probably not going to work out.
That's a great saying.
That makes sense.
So let me ask you this. Now that you have that as a gravitational statement, how often have you used that? Let me ask you this. Let me ask it a better way. Would that be part of a business class conversation?
I think it would.
I know it would. The question is how do you weave that in? Because that's a punch in the nose. You have to use Mitch in the story. I got asked the other day, because I have a lot of my friends who are older, because most people haven't achieved the success that I was mentored by some pretty amazing people to help me collapse time. What you're saying is I know my stuff. Without saying I know my stuff, I've been mentored by some pretty amazing people who have helped me compress time to reach a level of success faster than most of my friends. So now all of a sudden you're building credibility into your conversation. I have one good friend, Mitch, says, it's a Serbian saying, and you're doing this, of course, in typically your native tongue. It's better to be second in the city than first in the country. And man, when he said that, took the wind out of my sails, because I was first in the country. I was ahead of all of my friends. I was ahead of everybody. But I was better in football. I was better in all of my sports, and in my training and in my conversions and my sales. I was number one. And then I took a trip to the States, and I realized I might not have been in the top 10. And I said,
Not by a long shot.
right? But my point is that you get to tell the story of I stepped out of the country. I was number one in my little town. And then when I expanded my horizons, I realized I can take my number one from here and I can use those skills to climb the ranks any place I go because I know what it takes to become number one. It took a lot for me to become number one in the country. I just chose not to settle. Those are gravitational statements. I chose not to settle. What you're not telling the prospect, so you're willing to settle. They're hearing you, and this is the micro expression. I chose not to settle. You know what that says to them? So if I work with you, you're going to not let me settle, right? Because I want to go where you're going. You've got to understand that every time we have a conversation with somebody, we are going to touch their contract, their silent contract that they didn't even know they had written. You know, we talk about the fine print, read the fine print in the contract. You want to know what's the hardest part of your silent contract to read? The invisible print. You didn't even know it was there.
Oh yeah, and by the way, the first time Mitch told me about that was when I got approved. So he said, "Now you're gonna see what's real money out there." And I was like, "Okay." Probably didn't see it in Little Rock, Arkansas. However, Chicago was fairly different,
Yes.
and I just got to experience all of that. And I was just thinking about my trip the other day, and I said to myself, I go, "Man, that was that was a thing on another level." Because when I came back, the exact same thing you described was going to happened. Because everybody was saying to me, asking, "What's the Dreamland like?" And I said to them, all of them without exception, I go, "That's something you need to experience that. You need to see that." I mean, there's not a single instance where I had an unproductive conversation with somebody while I was there. And I've spoken with many people, male, female, older, younger, and there was not one single unproductive conversation I had. Versus, there's a lot of yapping going on in Europe. That's just small talk is just
There's a lot of
natural.
yapping going on here too. You came
Oh,
with
maybe that.
you came with an intensity of awareness. Period. That's all you showed up with, an intensity of awareness. Your brain was everything is new. The buildings are taller. This is new. Gravel road. Where the hell am I? I'm driving a Hummer across the dam on a lake. What the hell is going on here? I don't know any of this stuff. So we wind up in this, we have to have this constant high state of awareness. And when we sit down with somebody, if our echoes of belief say they probably don't want this, they're probably not excited about this in a silent contract, I'll be darned if when we show up, yeah, see, they weren't really interested. We have these conversations, but you were put behind enemy lines, new place. You are a Navy SEAL sent into the Badlands, and everything could kill you. And a lot of things did kill your old identity. And the only reason you allowed them to die off is because you were able to adapt new ones. Period. End of story. There's people who get 2 colds a year. They've been getting 2 colds a year for the last 20 years. Could you imagine what would happen if you never got a cold again? Oh, well, that would never happen. They're pretty much convinced of that. So that's
That
where
is very interesting.
the phrase "a man convinced against his will" is of the same mindset still. We bring people to riches. We bring people to riches. They see people who are rich. They see people converting talents, skills, products, sales, and they're becoming rich. And we don't. It ain't the program, Skippy. It's the personality. So that's why I'll say to somebody, how would you like to get started? Be like, why you really ask that? What else am I supposed to ask? How can I drag this out for you to reject me? Can we spend an hour so that you could reject me at the end of this? Sure. Yeah, we could do that. I'll waste my time and I'll waste your time. So we'll have 2 wastes of time. When would you like to get started?
It's almost, I feel as if you kind of, to a certain degree, kind of need to play dumb. Just asking one question after another that's as simple as possible to steer the conversation in which way you want it to go. And they don't even see it. And because it's novelty, because this is another thing I was thinking about, um, doesn't really have to do necessarily with sales. It's just in general communication.
Mm-hmm.
People, just as you said, they rush into it, very nervous. One of those people that when you meet them and you shake their hand, it's all sweaty. Um, that's kind of gross, but it is what it
It is. Yeah.
is. And it's just so interesting to me that the simpler you make it, the more you break it down, the easier it works. And then on the other hand, we're sitting there and we're thinking, I need to buy another course, I need to listen to another lecture, I need to buy this book, I need to do this and that. With that being said, I've just received something in the mail today. So this is in Serbian.
Okay.
This is How to Win Friends and Influence How to Win Friends and Influence People by Carnegie.
Yep. Greatest book
So
ever.
I am studying this bad boy. I'm onto this one. So this is the Science of Getting Rich you gifted me at the ranch, and it has Science of Being Great as well in it. And this is the one I've had.
So do me a favor.
Kept,
Do me a favor. You got a green marker in there. Open it up to that page.
yeah, so it has a green marker on
Yep.
every chapter.
Okay. Okay. So read the first sentence. Anyone, or
Whatever may
just pick a sentence out. Any sentence. Just pick one that shows up that you read. Just read it.
Whatever may be said in praise of poverty, the fact remains that it is not possible to live a really complete or successful life unless one is rich.
So, how many days do you think you could talk about that now?
Oh, and I know I'm scratching my head.
That's okay. That's your prefrontal cortex. You knew the question was coming.
I know. Man, you could talk. I mean, this can go out till Sunday, man. This is just.
So what if that became, you know how people tattoo things on their body, little phrases and sayings and Bible verses? What if that was it? What is ever said about poverty? There's no chance to enjoy your life if you're poor. What if you started every sales conversation with a prospect saying, "Hey, listen, I read this in a book and my mentor drilled this into me. What is ever said about riches and poverty?" And you said that statement. You want to set the stage? You want to have an unfair battle? Who's going to argue that? What contract do they have that's possibly strong enough to defend their poverty?
Oh yeah, this is exactly setting the stage. Just kind
So
of.
now, yeah, you feel it now, right?
Yeah.
So now, once you say that, say, listen, is it okay in our conversation, however long it lasts, can we agree to not discuss ways to stay poor? How would you like to get started?
Oh, that hits them like a sledgehammer. That hits them. Yeah, that's
Right?
great.
My point is that all of this language, all of this dialogue exists. And in English, it's only 26 letters. Thank God there wasn't a 27th letter. There's no telling how many more variations of that sentence would exist with one more letter. Einstein said this: everything should be as simple as possible. Here's the key: not simpler. All of these sales trainings, all of these conversations, we're trying to make sales simpler. You cannot make breaking a contract simple. There has to be protocol. And the protocol says you got to know there was a contract. You got to decide it's not a contract for you. And then we got to write a new contract. See, people will go do goal setting. Those are new contracts with an old set of contracts. You can't write a new contract till the old one is dissolved. Kind of like marriage in many cultures. How many people could you marry at once in a typical culture? One, without breaking the law. How many goals do you have that you have new goals and new marriages with these new goals, and you've never divorced the old goal of being poor, of being broke, of being a disappointment to your parents, of being less than your brother or sister? You got to write new contracts, baby.
It's getting hot up in here. It's getting hot, and it's only 70 degrees outside, so I don't know what to tell you.
But it's
That's just
interesting
great.
to see it, right? It's interesting to
Oh
see it,
yeah.
right? Change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. Imagine if every time you had a conversation with somebody, or in your head, that's the rule you now play by. That's how you play chess. What's ever said about poverty and riches, whatever the rest of that statement was, that's the rule you play by. Nothing can be gained if they stay poor. Your job is to make their life better, right? The advancing man, you leave them with more in use value than they could ever give you in cash value. That's the rule. When you go talk to the servers, the waiters and waitresses, you give them more in use value than they could ever give you in money. They could give you a coffee. That's the only thing they can. Here's a coffee. Here's a little I put a little extra. Here's a cake, right? Here's a dessert. They give you what they have control over. The challenge is when you have a conversation with somebody, the silent contracts they have, they can only give you what they have contract over. And the fact that somebody can give you a tip or the manager can give you a drink at a restaurant, are you kidding me? Your life is better because somebody gave you a $10 drink? Are you kidding me? Well, it's because the story we have around it. So can you give them a story that's worth more in use value than the price of the story?
I can do you one better. I don't even need to go for $10. I gave a pint of beer to a guy one time for $2, and it was living my DMP out there. I'll do you one better, bro.
Right. And see, and
That's
that's the
great.
simple thing. You have contract. See, your contract wasn't over the price of the beer, the price of the pint. Your contract was over looking at somebody and recognizing somebody who's an odd duck, just like you, a psychographic, not a demographic, because he was in his 50s and you're not. You weren't in a demographic, you were in a psychographic, and you wanted to recognize him. Listen, you got to be doing something good to be able to be here and it's not lunchtime and spend some time to come to this destination spot. So here's $2. Could you imagine if you walked up and handed him $2? He'd punch you. He'd go, "You're stupid." But you
Yeah.
sent it in a way that gave him a story. So that, see, you know how to play the rules.
Big brain, as my
Big
former
brain.
Jewish manager used to say. You need to have the big brain, huh? I was like, yeah. That one more thing
Yes,
I
please.
started noticing is that life gets so much more interesting, gets so much more color, to put it that way, as you learn the things we learn on here, and as we practice it in both private and public. It's so interesting when you see other people deal with something that you dealt with beforehand,
Mm-hmm.
and you got through it because of the knowledge that you acquired somewhere. So interesting to me when I look at people and I see a scenario, circumstance, event, whatever have you, and I know exactly what to do. and they don't see it. And then you get frustrated because they don't see it. And you're like, it's there, it's right there. They can't see it. And then you
Intentional
think,
blindness.
oh, and then you think, oh, for how long couldn't I see it? So, that's great.
And
That's just
be
interesting.
and the fun part is to be aware of what you didn't see yesterday that you could now see today. And these are the things that go in your evidence file. I was talking to somebody, a very powerful woman yesterday. They're not adding to their evidence file. You got to add to your evidence file every day, because you will be, if you don't, your subconscious says, oh, well, then why should I pay attention to anything new that serves us? Because you're not doing anything with it. There's no documentation of it. We will run our life by a calendar, by a watch, and yet we won't take care of our dreams by the second. We go decades without taking care of our dreams. I don't know why we always have to be pinned against a wall to do something. It's just, that's a silent contract we have. So there you go. I love our conversations. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, thank you.
Anyone else? Last thoughts, comments, questions, takeaways? Take with
Good
you.
morning, my friend.
Good morning, Mr. Bob Kane, horseman.
So through this conversation, it dawned upon my cranium that I have an unfair advantage, and it would be my best interest to maximize in my chess playing the use of that unfair advantage. And that unfair advantage is understanding the language of feel that I use with horses, that I use with dogs. It is something I'm blessed with. It's something I developed. And my gut is telling me that is the path of my success in making a greater impact with those I share with and having greater financial success in our efforts.
Did you ever have to be strong for one of your swimmers when they had doubt?
Many times.
That's it. That's it. You can go back to your coaching days from a swim coach and bring it right up to the present day of dealing with animals. The good news about the animals is they couldn't tell me they didn't want to get better. When I was dealing with the swim kids, they said, well, I don't know if I can't do the breaststroke in 35.8. I can't shave off a tenth of a second. Sometimes we got to will it stronger. We got to will them to win. And they used our will, they used our belief, and we used energy and hype, and we got them all going. And there were some championships, some winning first places of your team that only happened because of your belief in them.
Yeah. I very grateful for the conversation, the awareness. I've just been striving to lift folks up and to share more love and to do my best to bless more folks.
Here's a possible shift in visual.
Yeah.
Why does anybody load a horse onto a trailer?
Get them somewhere else.
That's your job, is to load people on the trailer they want to get on. Don't lift them up. You're not Hercules lifting a calf every day to get stronger. Don't lift them up, load them.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that.
You know, I'll never forget, we live next to Amish, you know that.
Yeah.
And when I was little, I was probably 10 years old, and the draft horses, because they had one bottom plows, right? And these draft horses were huge. They were 1,300 pound animals.
Yep.
And Mr. Yoder, who was probably 5'5", and he could get his, this is how tall the horses were. He could get his shoulders under the back haunches, the hips.
Yep.
And there was a kitten. The horse stepped on a kitten's tail. He was trying to push it. And he just got back in and underneath and lifted the back end of that horse up. And I didn't understand how heavy it was or this, that, or the other, but he lifted it enough for the little cat, the kitten was going, and it was able to run away. you wouldn't, Mr. Yoder would shake your hand and it was like shaking a tree limb, but he didn't know his own strength. So he never really gripped your hand
Huh?
because he probably could have crushed it. So if you know your strength is to how to get people onto the trailer of the thing that, and then load up their dreams onto their trailer and then get in the freaking car and drive it accordingly so they don't kill their dreams. I mean, you have the perfect scenario. I could talk about that. I could talk about putting 4 sheep in a little pin, right? The Shetland sheep, they're little tiny little. I could put 4 in a pin that would normally be for 2 sheep. But you can talk about loading them up and putting them in the right place and putting the stanchions in place and opening the window for the fresh air. All of these things are the meetings and all of that. Start looking at, and the reason people come to you is because you've loaded many horses. I've put many people's, the challenge is so many people will put their dreams on a trailer and then never get in the freaking car to take them to the new place. Some people will they'll load 15 horses, draft horses into the back of, squish them into a trailer, and they're trying to drive it with a Prius. You can't put dreams that big. You got to have the right vehicle with the right horsepower to pull your dreams. How big are your dreams, and can we load them onto the trailer of your success? That's all you need to talk about. You don't need to learn ingredients and comp plans, and doesn't make sense. Nobody cares. They need to get if you can get my damn dreams on the trailer, I'll drive the truck. Can I ride shotgun with you in the truck for a while? Have you ever driven your dreams very far? We're not taking them into the end of the driveway and back in the trail. You ever back your dreams up? You want to have fun, is right? Back up a
Oh
trail.
yeah. Oh yeah.
And then get really good, back up a hay wagon. There's no sense to backing up a hay wagon.
Yeah.
Right? So you have all of these conversations. Don't be a network marketer. Be a horseman who loads damn dreams onto a trailer.
Love it.
You ain't got to go to school for none of that.
No. No. Awesome.
Love it.
You have an amazing day, my friend.
Thanks, brother.
All right. Love you.
All right. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. From loading horses to moving people through Serbia. All good stuff. I'm your head brain training, brain scrambling. Let's go have some fun loading dreams onto Trailers Misfit. I'll see y'all where?
At the next event.
Somebody give me some Costa Rica.
Pura vida.
We love you, Mark. And some Lydias.
Peace be with us.
Be with us. And the queen of loading your dreams onto the trailer of your success, Jessie Lee Ward. Boss Lady. We love you, girl. And I'm guessing today is Silke's birthday. So as in good German culture, you can now, today is the day you could wish her happy birthday and not get yelled at. And a little white fluffy. Gurgly.
Gurgly.
All right, everybody, go have some fun today. I love you. No call tonight. We'll see you all tomorrow morning. Till then, bye for nowsies. Thanks, everybody.
By the way, I'm calling dips on the dock. So Luis, you can take a number.
Well, the dock,
Hey, I already put my reservation in.
the dock should
I'm
be big
calling
enough for
dips
both
on it,
of
bro.
you. The dock should be big enough for both of your egos. I think.
However, neighbors are just a neighbor thing, you know.
Exactly.
That's right.
Exactly.
That's true.
All right.
Love y'all.
you.
Take